What's going on, everybody? Sharpie360 here, and today we're upgrading the rig. Okay, so about 3 years ago, Black Friday time, I built this rig and made a video doing so, which you can watch here. I ended up going with the AMD Ryzen 7 3800X in that video, an 8-core, 16-thread processor running at 3.9 gigahertz. At the time, we were more focused on building the gaming PC, so it was all graphics. But now, after getting into more production and stuff, it's time to upgrade the CPU, so that's what we're gonna do today. Thanks to Micro Center's awesome Black Friday deals, I was able to grab this guy, AMD Ryzen 9 5900X. This processor is a 12-core 24-thread running at 3.7 gigahertz, a bit slower of a base clock than the 3.9 gigahertz from the 3800X, but we're getting 4 more cores and 8 more threads. And with the updated technology and the additional cores and threads, I'm super stoked to see what kind of performance benefits I'm getting out of gaming and production. From what I could find from online benchmarks, this CPU is looking to give about a 50 to 60% increase in performance. Here's some benchmarks I ran on my system. Keep in mind, my system's not built solely for benchmarking, so any increases seen are all subjective to my system. Alright, so I'm super stoked to see what kind of performance benefits we're gonna get out of this guy, so let's throw it in and see what we can get. Upgrade complete. Always nice when you get an excuse to do some deep cleaning inside the case. Don't be like me and forget to clean the PSU air intake. I'd say the whole process went fairly smoothly. I did have a slight oversight that I forgot to mention, which is the 3800X is built on the Zen 2 architecture, whereas this 5900X is built on the new Zen 3 architecture. Both processors seat into an AM4 socket, so the motherboard is still good to go. But before I began swapping out the CPUs, I needed to run a quick BIOS update so that the motherboard is able to communicate with the new architecture. You might have also noticed I added a surprise M.2 drive. This one is a 2TB Samsung 980, which I'm going to use for working on current editing projects. Up until this point, I've been primarily working off a mechanical drive, which can cause some severe bottlenecking at times. The first boot proved to be a success, which is always a good sign. I allowed the system to stabilize and the processor to acclimate to its new home before running some benchmarks. Let's take a look at the results. If we look back at the benchmarks for the 3800X, we can see that in Signbench R15 it scored 2006 CB for the all-core test and 186 CB for the single-core test. The OpenGL test averaged about 147 FPS. Not bad, not bad. As for the results on Signbench R20, the 3800X scored 4,886 points. Unfortunately, when I ran this test, I neglected to run the single-core test, so we don't have that data point, but we're mainly looking at the all-core test anyways. Keep in mind the scoring conventions are not the same in R15 as they are in R20, so the differences in scores between versions is not indicative of performance increases. Comparing that to the results of the 5900X, the all-core test scored significantly higher with 3,305 CB. That's not just thanks to the additional cores though. As you can see, the single-core test finished at 243 CB, which is an increase of about 30%. As far as the OpenGL test, the FPS average was almost double that of the 3800X, averaging about 280 FPS over the previous 147 FPS. And again, running the benchmarks in R20, the 5900X scored 7,658 points for the all-core test. And this time I did run the single-core test, and that scored 578 points. Looking at the full score, we can see slightly less impressive but still significant performance increases of about 56%. R20 doesn't have an OpenGL test built in, so I was unable to include those data points. I'm curious as to know why there was only an increase in score of 56% over 64% in R20 versus R15. Is it because there's different scoring algorithms? Is it because of the difference in scene itself? Is it due to the 4 additional cores in the 5900X being mainly used for efficiency? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so comment below. Cool, so I have the 5900X in and I put some hours in, and I can say that there is definitely a noticeable difference in performance and speed. As far as the everyday tasks and computing, it's less obvious, but when editing and rendering video, it's light years more efficient. My render times, for example, have drastically decreased. Finding that a 60-minute video rendered at 1080p 60 FPS took about 90 minutes or so to complete on the 3800X. The same video rendered at 1080p 60 FPS on the 5900X only takes about 45 minutes to render, which is nice because wasted time is wasted frames. Cool, so that's what I got for now. I'm super stoked on the 5900X and I can't wait to use the hell out of it. I'm thinking about checking out some 3D modeling software over the winter like Unity and Blender to see what kind of chaos I can cause over in that realm. The rig is upgraded and happy, for now. But something tells me that when those 7900 XTX prices drop a bit, there's going to be techno unrest on the home front until one is acquired. Thank you so much for following me along this upgrade quest. Did you tackle any builds or upgrades over the holiday season? How did it go? I'd love to hear about it, so let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with anybody that might need a little bit of inspiration getting started on an upgrade or project of their own. Happy holidays, and until next time, sharp out.